All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to another program tonight. Coast to Coast Deliverance with Pastor Henry. And we're going to be talking about a subject tonight. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. They don't want to miss this one here. They probably already turned in to sleep. Get ready for tomorrow. But I'm telling you what, we got some things we want to share with everybody tonight. Talk about war in America. What about World War III? We're going to talk about some dreams, some prophecy. Going to give you some information tonight on about what's happening in the world. Going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Greg Norman. How you doing, Greg?
Hello there, Pastor Henry. Looking forward to this one.
We're going to have a good one tonight, aren't we, brother?
Oh, very informative tonight.
Yeah, they just tell them what we're going to talk about. How we're going to get it out there, we don't know. I think I got those videos working so that we can at least show everybody what we were talking about the other night. And that was with Janice Castile.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that was her. We're going to try to show some things like this here. Let's welcome in our audience. I mean, we just decided when I got on the phone and said, "Hey, Greg, man, you want to try to do one tonight?" And he said, "Might as well try. We're going to try. We're going to shoot for 10." That was too close for me. So we said about 10:30 we're going to get on here.
Like I always tell you, I'm always on standby for you, Pastor Henry.
That's right. Well, I can't do one of these by myself. I just don't like doing none of this stuff by myself. You got to have, Jesus sent them out 2 by 2.
2 by 2, yes.
2 by 2, man. You don't want to do no show by yourself. That's not the way to do this thing here. Look at this one here, Tupelo, Mississippi.
Tupelo.
Got one in the house here looking at Minnesota. It was that Yomari Olson from Minnesota. Well, there's Ed. That's my shofar man right there. Ed in Maryland.
Hello, Ed in Maryland.
Yeah, got Sandy right here. She's from Hanahan, South Carolina. We're going to have a meeting Wednesday. We're going to be talking about FRA Church and start getting that to roll out. Start populating everybody who's filled out any of that information. We're going to put it in the website. Contact everybody and say, welcome to the family, FRA Church. God's getting ready to make a move, and we're going to get everybody on board with us as well.
Boy, hey, Pastor Henry, do you think there's some more developments from the last broadcast we did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, since what's been on television, and listen, we had a big turnout of people. People watch this thing. I go, look at this here, man.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know about this, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They want to know about it. I said, well, I'm going to try to get these videos working. We're going to let people talk to us. And then hopefully tonight, Greg, you and I can tell them about the dreams we had.
Yes.
If anybody else, want to tell us what the Lord has shown them as well. But there is a lot of people that God is showing, things about what's happening in here, especially in the next 60 days between now and the time Trump gets in. If he gets in, if they let him get in, that's what we're talking about. Look at this right here. Say, yes, my favorite deliverance ministry show. Look at that. Blind Pharaoh. We're going to get that blind Pharaoh out of that thing. Somebody shout me. Oh, yeah. That's the Stevens right there. All
Pastor
the way
James
from
Stevens.
Virginia. Yeah, very good. Catching up real soon.
Boy,
Good to see everybody here.
Boy, there's your helper, Rachel. Hey, Pastor Henry, it's hard to
Rachel
find. It's hard to find workers like that.
Say that again.
It's hard to find good workers like Sandy and Rachel and several others.
Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, look at this. Hey, look here, brother. Australia. That's that's coast to coast and beyond to the land down under.
I wonder what time it is in Australia, Pastor Henry.
I don't know. Maybe they'll put it on the screen there. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably. I don't know. Is it? It'd be Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, we're still in Monday, Tuesday. I don't know about noon there. I don't know. 7 or 8 hours, I guess. Into it. I don't know, something like that. Look at this one right here. Oh, there's Walter. Man, they did a good job this past Monday, didn't they? Sunday,
hello, Walter.
Jesus Day. Walter, he did a great job. Jesus Day. Look at this one here, Fleetwood. Oh, we got some more people here from Fleetwood, Pennsylvania, Meridian, Mississippi, from Windsor, South Carolina. Ooh, that's Rachel right there. From Maryville, Tennessee. I've been to these places now. This is crazy. Look at this, brother. Ireland.
Wow, look at that. Wow.
Hey, listen, we found out we had some Irish blood in us. Yeah. And they started telling me all that. And I said, man, we got to go back. That's going back to the Druids there now.
Yeah.
That's the Druids we're talking about. Can you imagine Druids mixed up with Indians? That's crazy, isn't it?
Boy.
All right. Mighty men of God. Look at this here. Thank you for all that you do for the kingdom. Ron and Sarah Leskashay.
Hello, Von.
That's how you say that name there. Leskashay.
Is that German, Pastor Henry?
No, it's not German. It's not German. I think it's Polish, I think. I don't know.
Polish?
Something like that. Rose Day. Oh, that's my cousin right there. Wow. Mary Ruth Brown. She got all the smarts of the family, got all the looks of the family. She got it all on that side of the family. That's the Johnson side of the family.
The Johnson, okay.
Yeah. That's my mom and dad. See, my mom and her brother, sisters. So that's my first cousin there. Watching from Tara Disney from Tennessee. Got some people from Ohio.
Yep, Ohio.
Boston, Georgia. Man, I'm telling you what, these are some good people here looking in. Listen here.
For tuning in pretty late, Pastor Henry, they're coming in.
Y'all keep on coming on in here. Hey, listen here, and I'll tell everybody, if you're watching us on YouTube, do it right now. Stop on YouTube. Get it around. Like it and share it. I've been going back looking at all the stuff they want to do about getting your ratings up and everything. You got to like and share. Don't watch this thing. Like and share it. Leave a comment. That's what they all tell everybody. Like, share, leave a comment. If you don't leave a comment, just leave an emoji, something like there. Tell us about the program. Do something. That lets them know people are watching and they are interested. Then it goes to the top of the charts and they push it out to everybody else. So just kind of do it like that if you would. Oh, look at it here. Got somebody from New Zealand, man. Look at this here.
Wow, New Zealand.
That's way. They listen here. That's New Zealand. I didn't even know that. That's not even talking about Australia. Australia is way over there. New Zealand is way, but a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Jonesboro, Tennessee. Yeah. Somebody's got a question. This one here's got a question. You put this question up here because that's not what we're talking about tonight, but that'd be a good one. I have a question. Nephilims are still here, correct? Yep. If so, then so will they be sent to hell? Oh, yes. And if they are half and half, are they able to go to heaven? No, they ain't no way. How about the human part? No. The human part, no. That's a mixture. It's a hybrid.
Yes.
It's a hybrid. And once they come together being a hybrid, half human, half angel, no angel, no angel. So it doesn't matter. See, that human or nor that angel part of the being is redeemable. Just because we're holding hands with that angel. So understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that part right there is just enough to fallen angel. That's enough to send them to hell right there. So anyway, yeah, that's it. Someone says this here. Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been to Tulsa before. We
Wow.
love Tulsa,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Yeah, a long time ago. I was like 15 years old when I went there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, somebody shared a comment over here. Look at this. They did share a comment. Okay, you are okay. Thank you. Oh, look at here. Thank you for answering. But hey, listen, when you Hannah Hart, if you ever come to our training, I hit that in detail. I mean in depth.
Mm-hmm.
I like talking about where the demons come from. Was there a race before Adam? The pre-Adamic race, what happened at creation, the fallen angels in Genesis 6, all the theologians who believe what I'm talking about. I mean, I talk about all of that kind of stuff. But it's just all in theory as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Shirley Adams says, "Hello, Pastor Henry. I was watching for you to come up." Well, normally I do something on Monday night.
Yes.
I try to do something on Monday night because we had been off. And I said, man, we might just wait. We might just wait. And someone says, how was it? Well, how was it the human's fault? It's like Adam and Eve.
Mm.
How was it the human's fault? Was it Adam and Eve? Well, it was their fault. Understand? That same thing with the other part. You have to go through some training. You just got to go through some training. And that's the reason why. Listen here. That's the reason why. See, how was it humans' fault? That's the reason why. When you start talking about subjects like that on shows like this here, then you have people that they've not walked through any of these levels. You understand what I mean? It's like in first grade. I don't know. Do they don't they do addition in first grade?
Yes.
Do some
I did.
addition. Might be do some subtraction.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Addition.
maybe third or fourth grade, they might be getting into some multiplications and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing when you're talking about all this stuff. If you just try to throw them on it, how can A plus B equal C? You know what I'm talking about? That don't make no
Mm-hmm.
sense. They said, no, A plus B don't equal C. See, A plus B to me would be AB. They said, no, that's A times B equals AB. I said, this is nuts. This is the math part. You know what I mean? Until you get the principles down, it's not going to make any sense. So as we're doing this here, maybe you need to do just do some training. It'll be good. It'll be good. And even if talks about Nephilim, Book of Enoch, all of that stuff, we talk about all of it. Y'all want to do a show on that one time? Do I need to do that?
Ooh.
I probably need to do a show on that. So that, because there's going to be people, as we're just talking about, we're here to talk about what? We're talking about war in America. And all kind of things are going to be happening in America. But we do a show on it, and I tell you about casting demons out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Nephilim spirits come out of people that are in them. There are spirits that have been in giants that come out of people that we take through deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do. So, yeah, we'll do one on it. We'll do one on it as well, and we'll just kind of do a presentation on it. And what does it say here? Because the something about Adam and Eve. I said that because, we're saying the Adam and Eve, but they had a choice. Did had a choice? Did the humans have a choice when the demons overtook them? Well, you have to look at this here. They cooperated with them. I mean, that's what people do now. They cooperate with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just take over them. They get demonized. I need a one-on-one. Yeah, look at this one here. Yeah, that would be good. But I like talking about the Nephilims, the giants, all these kind of things. I used to do shows called "It's Really Supernatural." Let's get on out here, man. We get back to the show here. Y'all want to do that? Let's do this here. All right, you ready, Greg? Are we going to talk about this stuff now?
All set.
Yeah, let me get out of here right here. So let me go ahead and set this up with the banner here that the lady had here at the bottom. This was her name. This was her show right here, Janice Castile of Extreme Reality Check. And so what happened here is, and I want to put the, we'll get back to our comments, and I'm going to get back to my screen here, Greg. I'm going to put this up on the screen here, big.
Mhm.
This is what we're talking about. We're talking about War in America, Dreams and Visions, show number 14, right? And it's World War III, Dreams and Visions. And it's like War in America. See how at the bottom I got War in America. I kind of put that in there because all of this is happening around World War III. It's a setup so that what will happen is that they can actually destroy America. That's what they want to do. They want to have war in America. And so with that being said, the in show 13 we talked about and we just kind of like just talked about and given the input about what was happening about Janice Castile, what she was saying about what was happening in Ukraine right now. And it was great information that she said, but she tied it together like what's happening in Ukraine and also what's happening in America. That's what she put it together because they are not separate. Because what they're trying to do is pull us into a war, a world war, and then at the same time they have armies that are within America already that are trying to they are being positioned in such a way that once it starts and it goes down, then many people are going to be caught off guard. And so that's what the Lord showed her in dreams, and that it happens. God had shown other people the same thing as well. So where do you want to begin at, Greg? I think I'm going to begin. Where do you want to begin? There's two videos. One's a long one. One's a short one. I think we ought to start with the short one.
That's fine. That's good.
I think we'll start with the short one, and then we'll make sure that everybody and I show this here. I want everybody to. I don't listen here. Someone said, "Do they feel like I'm not asking any of my questions be irritating?" Oh, I realize that I don't. If I thought you was irritating, I wouldn't even be answering your question. Isn't that right, Greg?
Mm-hmm.
The lady, the person down here, I wouldn't be answering your question. So I mean, that's not it. But we just gotta move on for what we're talking about here on the subject matter. But we'll get back to that. We'll do a show on it, and I'll make sure that I prepare for it. We'll do it, and we'll show you some videos, and I'll give you some real life experiences and what you can expect as a deliverance minister, what you're going to have to cast out of people, because these spirits are still out there, and they're Nephilim spirits.
That's right.
They were in giants at one time. Look at this one here. Okay, Greg, I'm going to put it on here. I think that this is going to be it right here. I'm going to bring it down so I can bring it up right here. So I don't mess anybody's ear up. I think this is the short one right here. And it just kind of sets it up on what is happening in America right now. See if I can bring it up. You're going to see me go away and then have me just in the screen here just a little bit. See what we can do right here.
Intercontinental ballistic missile strike, but that they're still assessing missile parts on the ground to confirm. Ukrainian President Zelensky addressing his people, saying,
Today, authorities from Ukraine claim Russia may have used an intercontinental ballistic missile in the eastern part of the country. It comes in the wake of Ukraine firing U.S.-made long-range missiles for the first time
if you
since
can
the
hear
war
it,
began just over
y'all
days
put
ago.
a comment in.
ABC's
It's okay.
Roy
The sound is all right.
Experts tell ABC News video circulating online appears to show a ballistic missile hitting the city of Dnipro in Ukraine, one of multiple strikes reported from Russia. A Ukrainian official telling ABC News Ukraine's military is 95% sure it was an intercontinental ballistic missile strike, but that they're still assessing missile parts on the ground to confirm. Ukrainian President Zelensky addressing his people, saying, quote, today our crazy neighbor once again showed what he really is and how he despises dignity, freedom, and human life in general, referring to Russian President Vladimir Putin. But 2 U.S. officials describe it as an intermediate-range ballistic missile, not an ICBM.
Definition of an ICBM means it can travel more than 3,500 miles. The fact that it's something that we've never seen before is very problematic.
You can hear air raid sirens also going off in the capital city of Kyiv. Russian President Vladimir Putin saying Russia has the right to use its weapons against the military facilities of countries employing their weapons against Russia. The attack follows Ukraine firing American ballistic missiles into Russia. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine closing Wednesday amid fears about a potential Russian attack.
Well, ABC News also learned that North Korean generals and high-ranking officers were present when Ukraine used British cruise missiles against Russia. The strikes into Russia's Kursk region marked the second time Ukraine fired Western missiles into Russian territory.
All right, so there you have it right there. And that was just a little short video of where they talked about where they fired that ICBM missile, the long-range missiles going into Russia, and then of course Vladimir Putin, that he is unleashing the ICBM. They said it wasn't an ICBM. I'm going, well, that's what everybody said it was. And when we listened to Mike from around the world, that's what he was talking about. But I wanted to let you hear the news people say what's coming and what is happening, and understand that it appears to be they are trying to set up World War III before Donald Trump goes in to remove a lot of leverage. I mean, Joe Biden had to sign off on giving missiles to the president of Ukraine, so that he could shoot that missile deep within Russia. And yes. But listen here, there's things that's going on that they're not telling everybody. But what I have found out is that I don't know if anybody ever listened to the show that's called Rick Wiles. Have you ever heard of him? True News. Have you ever heard of him, Greg?
I heard of him. I haven't watched.
So there's a show that's called True News. And like my sister really listens to that, and she'll feed me some information that comes from him. And he says that what they're telling them in France, Germany, and different places in Europe of how to survive a nuclear attack. Right now, I mean, they're passing out leaflets.
That's right.
They're giving them books. Have you heard that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pastor, I have someone coming on tomorrow morning who has a lot of information. So what you're sharing, you're hitting it right on the target.
Yeah, tell them what time that show is so they can watch it.
The time is 10 a.m. tomorrow. We have Chance Gibson on, and he's the one who's connected with Mike Around the World. And the title is Urgent Alert. And once again, that's at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the One Source Network.
So how does he know him? Do you know? How does he know Mike?
He knows him from Paul Bagley. And Chance goes on once a month on Paul Bagley's show.
Oh, Bagley. Okay, got it. Yeah, very good. Now, there were several people. I think you had even mentioned it. Got another man had mentioned my name to Paul Bagley about getting on there about deliverance, talking about deliverance on the show.
Yes.
People are afraid. People are afraid to talk about this kind of stuff.
I think that would be a good platform for you, Pastor Henry.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do. We'll see how we can get you on there. It's needed.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets on there, it's fine. If not, then we'll see what happens. Here's what Vaughn said. Look, watch this right here. He says, FEMA is starting to get the same information out to America now. That's good right here. Look at this one here. 5mm leaflets in Finland telling them to prep for war. Isn't that something?
Hey, Pastor Henry, the last broadcast that you and I did, the next day I was downstairs in my gym, and all of a sudden my wife noticed that there were 2 unmarked, no signatures on. The helicopters, black, flying right so low over our home. 2 black ones.
Yeah, they must have been know we were getting on there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, up there where you live up in Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you know what's going all around in Rhode Island up there. I mean, that's I didn't know there was anybody who ever lived in Rhode Island until I met you. But there must be a lot of undercover stuff going on up there too.
Small state, easy to control, Pastor Henry.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot that's happening in that. So this one, I didn't know it was possible to survive a nuclear attack. Somebody's going to survive it. Yeah, they are. Somebody will, whether it's us or the people that's deep in the mountain. And you know, if we look at all the what do they call them? DUMBs, deep underground military bases.
Mm-hmm.
They're called DUMBs, deep underground military bases. That they've been building for years for the elite. And the elite people have all of these things that they're able to run into. You know, a lot of them are leaving America, going someplace. Yeah, they're going probably into their fallout shelters. They got money to do all this. They know something's coming. And I don't know if people remember. I mean, probably don't remember back when we were in school, how they told us what we had to do was see the flash, look away from the flash, get up under the desk.
Yeah,
duck and cover. Don't look at the flash. Isn't that crazy stuff? How all that stuff we were coming up. And I remember my grandfather lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and we would go down to Atlanta to visit. And they had under the house. That time it was a fallout shelter under the house. You know, that was all cemented up and everything. This is where they had it all stocked up, ready to go. Somebody's going to survive something somewhere. I mean, it might not go wipe a lot of people out, but
hey, Pastor Henry, when I was in 3rd grade, we used to have these things called like bomb drills. And one day they had a drill. So as a little kid, we would have to go under our desk to hide. So what happened one day when the bell went off for a bomb drill, I ran over to get my raincoat, went under the desk of the teacher. The teacher said, "Greg, why did you get your raincoat?" I said, "I don't want to get wet when the bomb hits." Just a little guy, Pastor Henry.
130, what did they say? 130, I thought I had it right here. 130 underground cities around the world. Look at that right there.
Yeah. Hey, Pastor Henry, do you know those underground tunnels? Some of them they have buses. They look like cities, but just built underground.
Wow. Yeah. So, you know, if you go back and you look back, if you go back and look at all of the stories that over the years that we have learned about Walmart being tied to the underground system, you know, as far as being able to move goods underground, not above ground, but underground. And all Walmarts are set up now for food and medications and ID. And I mean, that's where everybody's going to go at to get their whatever at from Walmart. But they actually are able to stock them. So they say underground. And, you know, when they were talking about that, Greg, about the stores that would go on Walmarts that had already been built for years, and then it was their time to get connected to this grid. They say we're doing massive underground plumbing.
That's right.
Did you heard that, right?
Yes.
Well, sure. I mean, you know, I'm talking about it like I am now, and we're hearing about it. So I go right over here to one here in Aiken over here. This is several years ago, and they have a whole area blocked off in the middle of the night. Nobody. They got people in there working. What are they doing in it? The store and all. They says you can't. We've had a problem with our plumbing. So what are y'all doing? They said, well, we're up there upgrading our plumbing. We're taking all our plumbing out, upgrade it, bring it up to snuff, up to speed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they were telling everybody, but that is not what they were doing.
That's right. Hey, Pastor, have you noticed a lot of construction is happening now near your area?
Yes, a lot of construction.
Yeah. Hey, Pastor Henry, in when things go down, they have these walls that will be put up on major highways, so people will not be able to travel, and they're going to have everyone in one location where they can't escape their cities or towns. Wow.
You can see how that's to be easily done now.
Yes.
Especially when they're putting everybody with, you know, like some places like New York City and all. I said put the walls up now. Put them on up now. Don't let them get out. Nobody needs to get out of that place.
That's right.
Yeah, but you could see where they can. Too many stories about what you're talking about too. How they use the military to do it. So let's go ahead. You want to run this other video now? Let's talk about the other video that she put up.
Yes.
And this was 11:11. When she listened to it, her own words. Let's go ahead and get this thing so y'all can listen to it right here. I think it's this one right here.
Straight up out of bed it was about 6 o'clock this morning. I don't know, 6:40 something. Wide awake with the Holy Spirit all over me, telling me all about this and that I needed to warn people. And I couldn't go back to sleep. It was done. I'm up, and this is the message. Firstly, since it is Veterans Day, let me say thank you to all of the men and women who have served this country to protect our freedom. I don't know, Trudeau's corrupt government and our United States corrupt regime right now that took the country by coup and massive election fraud in 2020. There is a regime behind both of those governments. Trudeau is not the mastermind, obviously, and Biden and Harris are not the mastermind of anything, obviously. The regime behind them is in panic right now because of this particular battlefront. We've talked about this before, that these states are called battleground states on purpose. These are the states that they needed to secure so their invasion and overthrow of the United States could be accomplished. They have a military strategy. I'm not aware of all of it. I've pieced some of it together like all of you have, but I'm just specifically talking about what the Lord showed me this morning. So in this region, this is why they are in panic, because their battleground states, which are the front lines that they needed to secure for this invasion through Canada, are being dismantled. And their military plan for this theater of war included all of these states being blue. Like they put Tim Walz in charge of Minnesota. Obviously, we all know he was recruited by the communists through the Confucius Society and trained in China. These are operatives. So they did hold that state. I don't believe the people in that state will lay down and take it. But apparently they have enough boots on the ground there that they think they can maintain control there. We saw that with the psychological operation, the George Floyd psyop, and the Minneapolis riots. They have the militarized left there on the ground, and they have the governor in place that will stand down. That's what they need. They need communist governors in place in all of these regions that will stand down and let their militarized forces on the ground burn the cities down. It's a war. It's asymmetrical warfare. So they won't call it terrorism, even though it's outright terrorist attacks on the United States. They're not going to call it what it is, but this is what it is. And that's why we see Gretchen Whitmer and these other operatives placed in charge of Michigan, because she absolutely will stand down. And she proved herself. That's how these people get into positions of power during the COVID lockdowns. She wouldn't even let people mow their yards completely alone, nobody within hundreds of yards of them, but she was sending the police to make them turn their mower off and get back in their house. So this wasn't about the spread of disease. This was about control, and she was draconian. And that's why they have her in charge of Michigan. They need governors who will stand down and allow this invasion. So therein lies the panic. So then the Lord brought to my remembrance an old prophetic vision, and I don't have time. Like I said, I'm not prepared for this. You'll just have to take my word for it. Many of you run in the same circles as I do, so you have seen many of the prophetic dreams and visions about the coming invasion and all of that going back decades and decades and decades. So many of you will remember this. But anyway, this gentleman talked about being specifically shown an invasion from Canada down through Ohio, that the Lord revealed their military strategy to him, that they were specifically going to be coming through this region right through Ohio. So you can see the problem. That's why Pennsylvania is a battleground state. They want this whole area secured. So they have the East Coast, right? All the blue states are under communist control. Minnesota's under communist control. Again, yes, there are still communist infiltrators in all of these governments, but it looks like the people are rising up. The people will not lay down. like they did in Minneapolis, Minnesota during the George Floyd beta test. So this is what's happening right now, God said. I want to be perfectly clear. I want to give the message exactly as I received it. He did not say there is definitely going to be an invasion before Thanksgiving or Christmas. What he said was they are meeting behind closed doors right now, discussing whether they need to launch the invasion right now, move it forward before the January inauguration, before their troops that are in place can be disassembled. They might have to. They're not ready, but they might have to launch it now, because if they wait, they might lose millions and millions of foreign troops that they have in place, especially if Trump starts deporting like the Venezuelan gangs. And, those are the most ruthless. Those are the soldiers. Their plan was a smooth operation, that they would have already had all of these regions secured and everything in place, and it would be an easy transition going into Agenda 2030. But that's not happening. Their plan is falling apart, and they are behind closed doors right now, deciding whether to launch this invasion right now, the end of this year, right now, not 2025, not after Trump's inaugurated. They're behind closed doors, God said, right now, deciding if they are going to launch this holiday season, maybe even this month. That's how urgent this warning is. That's why I'm sitting here doing this instead of laying in bed getting some rest. Okay, here are some specific examples that the Lord showed me about them securing strategic locations, that they aren't just randomly busing immigrants around the United States. And it's not just because, those are blue regions, they have sanctuary cities. They're so incompetent. No, they are not incompetent. They have never been incompetent. They are very strategic. The mask they wear is incompetence. That's why they chose Biden and Harris. They want us all to sit around making joke memes online while they're invading the country. So you may have noticed that they've chosen seemingly random small towns to just send in tens of thousands of immigrants and put them in barracks. Hotels. And the people in those small towns are largely just complaining about not having the resources. It's an immigration crisis. We don't have the resources to care for all of these people, when they should be realizing that they have just been outnumbered. And why was their city chosen? Why strategically would their city be chosen to have this foreign invasion bust right into such an obscure small town? So let's start with one example, Logansport, Indiana. So you can see here, they've secured my state, which they have not. They've only secured Chicago. We voted all red. 90 of the 102 counties in Illinois here are all voted Trump. They don't want anything to do with the Democrats. But, our billionaire elitist prickster up there has the communist stronghold secured. So it is in northern Indiana that they have been busing the foreign troops in as strategic locations.
Logansport, Indiana, city officials are speaking out about the influx of migrants into their area, calling it unsustainable. Our next guest is a lifelong resident who says locals are not feeling safe there anymore and blames the Biden-Harris administration for what's happening in Logansport. Dave Price joins us now. Good morning to you, Dave.
Hey, good morning.
Dave.
How are you?
Good morning. I know you grew up in this small town, a population of 18,000, about 78 miles north of Indianapolis. And now what are you seeing? What are your concerns?
Well, we're just seeing a new influx of a population that Logansport is just not used to. Mm-hmm. We have had immigrants come in throughout the years to Logansport from the Mexico area. So we have a lot of Hispanics in the area, which they have acclimated very well. And they've grown their businesses and they've earned the respect of Americans, and we've respected them in return. But what we're seeing now is a little different. It's coming from a third world country coming into Logansport. And these individuals don't necessarily know the local laws or rules and how to behave here, basically. And we just ask that our local leaders, state and federal, take a look at Logansport, Indiana. We need some help here. We need some federal help. We need transparency between our local elected officials. And we need some more information and communication.
In 2021, there were 14 Haitian students in the schools. In 2024, there are 207. Housing, the health department said they're worried about safety because in some of these houses, there are 20 to 25 people living under one roof. Your mayor says it's not sustainable. They need help, and they have no idea how many people are coming in.
They're coming from a third world country into America, land of opportunity. And, this is brand new to them, too. They probably feel like they won the lottery in a way. And it's just a new life for them. And they just need to adjust to the American life and learn to obey the laws here and how to behave.
Instead of him being able to present the news from his community and say, hey, we have been overrun. We have been invaded. They have taken over everything. They took over the food supply chain, right? The Tyson food processing plants are there. All the Haitians took over the food processing plants. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, and this is really gross, but this is happening in the food supply. I've had to throw away so much food that I get now. I ordered chicken tenders. And when I got them and opened them, you know how a chicken tender is shaped like it's in a triangle. There was a bite off the tip of every single chicken tender, a literal bite mark, a curved bite, whoever was working in the processing plants, and it was under the breading. These were breaded chicken tenders. So whoever was working in the processing plants before they were breaded was literally taking a bite out of every piece of food and then sending it down the line to us. And I got them. I'm telling you the truth. I got a whole bag of chicken tenders that had bites out of them. But I digress. We've talked a lot about them blowing up, burning down, taking over the entire supply chain, including all of the food processing plants. But what I want to talk about here is the military strategic placement. Okay, so right here, look it up. Logansport is located in northern Indiana at the junction of the Wabash and Eel rivers. It's called Logansport because it is a port city. It's named after Captain Logan, a Shawnee warrior who was a scout for the United States forces during the War of 1812, a scout for the port city, a river scout. And any student of Civil War history knows how the battles went and what they secured first and how they cut off supply lines and how they took the river ports and all of that. Here in my neck of the woods, these Civil War strategies are well known. It's common knowledge because right here in Cairo, Illinois, yes, that infamous X of the two solar eclipses 7 years apart was right on top of this location around Cairo, Illinois. My town here that I grew up in, we have a Little Egypt parade and a Little Egypt festival every single year. So like I told you guys in the last video, I have a whole segment on the history of this area. It's very interesting, a little creepy. But that's not the purpose of this video. What I do want to mention is the Battle of Vicksburg. You know, it's one of the most famous battles right at the start of the Civil War, and it had to do with them securing these river routes from Cairo, Illinois, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, obviously, the Mississippi River runs further north than Cairo, Illinois. What they're saying is that's the part that the South obviously controlled. So the first thing the North needed to do was to take out that critical transportation corridor and supply line, to cripple the people in those states that it was getting ready to lay siege to. If you are not a history buff, here you go. This is the Battle of Vicksburg. It was a decisive moment, and it was right at the beginning of the war, exactly what we're talking about here in this video. Okay, the Battle of Vicksburg was a decisive Union victory during the American Civil War that divided the Confederacy and cemented the reputation of the Union General Ulysses S. Grant. Union forces waged a campaign to take the Confederate stronghold of Vicksburg, Mississippi, which lay halfway between Memphis to the north and New Orleans to the south. The 47-day siege of Vicksburg eventually gave control of the Mississippi River, a critical supply line to the Union, and was part of the Union's successful Anaconda Plan to cut off all trade to the Confederacy. And that's why they chose to bus thousands upon thousands of these foreign invaders into Logansport, because it is the hub of the Wabash and Eel River. Now, the Wabash River is so strategic because it will take them all the way into the Ohio River, it will take them all the way into the Mississippi River, and it will take them all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, because their military strategy includes them coming down through the Great Lakes and through Ohio. And like we've talked about in the past, these battleground states will be battlegrounds. So up here in northern Indiana, they have secured the ports so that they can move in down the Ohio River and through the Great Lakes. And, you know, here in Chicago, also right up here by northern Indiana, our billionaire, elitist, communist governor, J.B. Pritzker, has already signed the bill right here, July 31st, 2023. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a bill last week that would allow for non-U.S. citizens, for foreigners that came in illegally specifically. This isn't like a benefit he's giving to all of the immigrants who have come before legally and have gone through all of the steps lawfully. No, they don't get any perks. This bill is specifically for the criminals.
Man, you see that, brother? Let me unmute you right here. You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I did see that, Pastor Henry.
Illinois' law will allow non-citizens to become police officers. It's July 31st, 2023. Signed a bill last week that would allow for non-U.S. citizens to apply to become police officers. Wow, and it's crazy.
Wow.
I don't understand what in the world's going on, other than what you have to realize, that we've been betrayed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
America's being betrayed from within.
Mm-hmm.
And these are Democrat-run states with governors, judges, and someone was asking who was them. Well, I'm telling you who the them is. This is the them right there. Let me see if we can't run this thing here and do a little bit more here.
This is for the illegal immigrants under the guise of, well, it's their pathway. This is their pathway to citizenship. Foreigners get to take over the military and the police force to police U.S. citizens. Isn't that a great idea? It's their pathway to citizenship. So it's done here in Illinois. So as for my region, we're mapping this closely of how far the front lines will get to us. And I have openly shared my own personal dreams and visions over the last, say, 15 years or so concerning this coming attack. The one on the screen right now, my end time vision about the roadblocks on the American interstates.
You know, I got this comment on the screen. By the Constitution, all elected officials and police officers have to swear an allegiance to the Constitution. I think they might call these people Benedict Arnold.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They're traitors.
Mm.
That's where that term comes in at. I don't care what you've sworn allegiance to. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do to this, or you are a traitor. And it sounds like that's what a lot of these things are happening. Let's go ahead.
It seemed like they were around a holiday, and it included Antifa and ISIS, or Antifa and or ISIS. Now, this predated Antifa. I'd never heard of Antifa. This was before 2016 that I had this, before Trump's first election. So it predated all of that. I would have never known even the term Antifa. That's all stuff that I learned afterwards. So I initially thought, well, it had to be ISIS because they had these, you know, the black masks that cover their faces and all of that. But now here we are all of these years later, a decade later, and I can see exactly what it is. It's both. Now it's all out in the open with the pro-terrorist rallies and the pro-Hamas protests and all of that. They've done this social engineering and this psychological operation to turn people against Israel. I'm not saying Israel's not at fault. What I'm saying is the people running this thing are above that. They're above that. They're not for Israel or for Hamas. The same people that created the nation of Israel in 1948 are the ones who created, the intelligence agencies created the terrorist networks and financed them and armed them and all of that. So I'm not saying either side. I'm saying I'm looking at the enemy above this. Back during the Minneapolis riots where they burned down the cities and everything, it was mostly BLM and Antifa, again, financed by multi-million-dollar corporations. They're like, oh, it's all these disenfranchised grassroots movement. No, it never was. I mean, you guys remember they even brought pallets of bricks and stuff and just set them in the middle of the road for no reason other than for these people that they have driven to the brink of insanity and radicalized for them to pick up and throw at the windows and destroy things. But now they've joined the next link in the chain, which is the Islamic terrorists. But anyway, my point was about mapping the location of how close I think it will come to where my home is now. And in these visions, both this one about the roadblocks, the interstate blocks, and this one here about the concentration camps and martial law. Now, when I had that one, I was living a lot further north in Illinois. It was actually because of that dream that I sold my house and moved down south to a more rural area. I was only a couple of hours from Chicago, a couple hours south of Chicago. And it did come there, not the front lines, not the gunfight front lines, but they did lock everybody down. They did set up roadblocks and curfews, and they did eventually monitor everything that you looked at on the internet, which led to taking people to work camps. And I explain all of that in these videos. Now, they deleted my YouTube channel, so all of that archive is gone, but Odyssey did capture a couple of these. I will put the links down below in the description box if you haven't seen.
I got something here that Stephanie puts up here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Stephanie, I want to show you this here. Why would the government want to make the U.S. a third world country? They would have to live in it too. Have you... what happens is that when they come in and they take over, if the leadership of the states are already bought out, then you can control the state by the people who are already there. And you don't have to bring in people from another country. They're already bought out. Therefore, what they're coming in for, being a third world nation and all, is they want our resources. You understand that, right?
Farmland, yes.
They want the resources that we have. They surely don't want the people we got. I can tell you that. That's why they're filling them full of fentanyl and filling them. I mean, they can't even tell time on a wall. And our education system is dropping down. I mean, 16, 17 in the world, maybe a lot lower than that.
Hey,
go ahead.
Pastor Henry, you're sharing so much truth. When Stephanie just wrote, why would the government want to make the U.S. a third world country? What people don't realize is China has a big influence over our government now. And a lot of people may not be aware of that, but China is taking over the banking system. They're buying all the farmland. So really, our government doesn't belong to us any longer. The government sold the soul of America.
Exactly right. So they're coming in wanting resources. And when we're talking about the resources they want, the Midwest, it's called the breadbasket of the world. Listen here, if y'all think about what's happening, I'm going to tell you this here, what's happening in Ukraine, if you look at what country feeds a large portion of Europe, guess which one it is? I guarantee you now, just me telling you that would shock you. Now you know what the fight's over.
That's right.
That a lot of it comes from Ukraine to be able to supply because of the food, the grounds that it can be able to feed. So the thing is, they don't want to drop a nuclear weapon because that's their food source. to be able to grow over and over and over. And the same thing here, as far as in the Midwest, that's where we feed meat, grain, all of that here. So they come in, you know what's going to happen. They're going to come in and they're going to use us or people, third world, for the slave labor.
That's right.
Because we know how things operate. To be able to get stuff to the Mississippi River and to be able to get it to the coast and to be able to ship it around the world for them. It's the same thing like what America used to do, or the British used to do when they would go in and colonize. Colonization of a country. They would go in and take all the resources that were in that country. This is why people hate Britain so bad. It's because they would take all the resources to be able to feed the homeland.
That's right.
All the wealth and all the things there, and they have it. So the same spirit is still in the world today, but what people just don't realize is that this is happening all around us. And this is what to me is just so absolutely amazing, is that the church people are so blinded to a blue and a red thing that they cannot even see that the people who are in government leaders that they put in under a Democrat name are the ones who open the borders up, or are the ones that's killing all the children, or are the ones that are giving away, just come in, do whatever you want to do, give them all citizenship. Do y'all know? I don't know if I really don't know if anybody's ever really studied anything as far as Roman history and the Roman Empire to fall. What fell was that because that the Roman citizens didn't do anything. They started having all the foreigners come in, and the foreigners came in and absolutely just took over everything that the Romans were doing. And then one day they turned on them. And the next thing you know, the Roman Empire disappeared as far as we know, as they knew it then. And that's exactly what they're doing right now with tens of millions of people coming into our country that we don't even know who are here. And I think that if we start looking at the deportation of what's getting ready to happen is, and I don't think it was Eisenhower. It was one before him. Truman, might have been Truman. One of the presidents there, it was the largest deportation they've had in America. There was millions in America they deported to get them out of here. There were all these people that were in our countries that were illegally here, and that is what's happening. But another thing too is that if you look at what's happening in America, they know that the age of people dying, that we're not having babies to be able to keep our population up. What was that? I can't remember what that report was that came out several years ago in 2017, 2018, that by the year 2025, that the population in America would be like 99 million. That's what it would be in the year 2025. Is what it would be. Let me see if I can't find that where that was at. That was just sent to me. I got the Deagle report. The Deagle report, 2025 population. You can go the global forecast, and you're looking at for the year 2025. America was only like 99 million. So if we got 325, 340, whatever we got million between now and 2025, if that Deagle report's right, something happens to a great big group of people. So if we're looking at what happens to this great group of people, is it that some people will say does it the rapture? Is it the rapture that takes place of the church? And then this is that they're talking about the de-escalation of population across the whole world. Something happens, and this is a report that is done by supercomputers. They put all this information in. They ditto it out right here, and they said at this time frame, this is how much it did. It's called the Deagle report. Y'all need to go look at that kind of stuff. Somebody's talking about all these people going somewhere.
Hey, Pastor Henry.
Yes, sir.
Please forgive me for interrupting.
Go right ahead.
You said something now that it's making total sense. Remember what maybe many don't know, if you Google the vacant cities in China, that these cities they built duplicate the cities in America. Now it's becoming clearer why they built those cities. If they Google the vacant cities on YouTube in China, I mean, cities that look like New York, I mean, beautiful construction, but no one has lived in them. But soon we'll understand why they were built.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so there's things happening with the population, and if what we're talking about is anything about the Deagle report, and if the people who are Democrats who are in America, Joe Biden and all these different ones, is that I saw a video of him. Now, you never know nowadays who it is, because I just believe there are several of him. There are certain things you can just look and say, that ain't him. That ain't the man. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So, but he said, and it might have been 05, 06, 07, somewhere along in he says that he will facilitate, the Democrat Party would facilitate the browning of America.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw that video or not. I wish I had recorded it, and we're not talking about blacks and whites or anything. That we're talking about the browning of America would be where that they would open the border up, and you would have white, black, brown. You know what I'm talking about? It wouldn't be black minority, wouldn't be white majority or white majority or black majority. It would be a brown majority. And in that happening, so they have plans to do what they're doing to get these people in here, whether it's because of the Deagle report and the population not being what it's supposed to be, Democrats killing their babies, or white people killing their babies, black people killing their babies, whatever, brown people killing their babies. Well, that's the reason why you have to let a lot of these people come in, because you're killing your own babies, and your own babies are the ones supposed to help you pay for your Social Security, but you killed them all. So they're supposed to go to work, supposed to raise money so that you can be on your Social Security. But anyway, should I digress on that? But anyway, so this lady right here is talking about bringing these people in, putting them in strategic places so that this war can happen. Y'all want to see some more on this here?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it like this here. We get into this, brother. I'll get in trouble. I'll probably lose people. I will probably lose people off of Deliverance with Pastor Henry, because he's starting to tell everybody, say, hey, look, this is what's going on. And everybody that's in the Congress, they need deliverance. These demons are lying to them.
Most of the people who have followed my channel for years, you've seen them a couple of times. And here's another one of those old deleted videos over on Odyssey that I will put the link for down in the description box. Because in this one, I was rehashing the dreams and visions that I had had over the years about these attacks that seemed to happen around the holiday season. And I had included some dreams and visions from other people that confirmed that. And I used to, like every holiday season, put up a video or every couple of years and say, these are high watch times, let us not forget. But I haven't done that in years and years, probably 7 years right there. And now it seems timely, like it really could be this holiday season.
There was an attack on the military bases over the holidays when all of the excess military personnel were all gone on leave. So they were bare bones staff on the military bases, and they were able to, the yard crews and stuff had come in, and they had under their mowers and stuff had taken the blades out and mounted weapons under there. So they were able to take the gates and take the armories. So when the attack happened, whatever the attack was happening outside of the military bases, the military personnel were not able to get back to their armories and get armed to fight. So it was some sort of organized thing that they were securing the bases at the same time that there was some other attack going on outside, which reminded me even of my dream, which it was very literal, and I am certain will happen at some point. That's how vivid and prophetic this, if you've heard from the Lord, you have. And they had done an attack on American interstates, and we were way back in the line. And you can go, it's ISIS attack on American interstates or something. It's on my channel.
Okay, like I said, all the links will be below in the description box if you want to see the rest of that kind of stuff. But I did want to point that out about them taking over the military bases, because who would have thought 10 or 15 years ago, when I had those visions and the gentleman I was quoting there had his series of visions about them taking over the military bases, nobody would have imagined in a million years that we would be in a situation like this, that Homeland Security would just turn a blind eye to tens of millions of foreign invaders. I mean, after 9/11, Americans are still getting treated like criminals, being searched and patted down and everything else just to take an airplane flight. But that's for law-abiding American citizens with ID who jump through all the hoops. All these foreigners who just come back and forth across our border completely with no ID, no documentation, like them, we don't got to worry about, right? And then, of course, we have the communist Chinese buying up all of the land around our military bases that butts right up to them.
Look at that.
Literally butts right up to our military bases all across the United States.
Y'all see that?
So just going through a few, here's Camp Pendleton. I was on Camp Pendleton. I lived out there for years in California. And you can see they've bought up more land than the military base even is right here, butted up right next to it. Same way with Fort Irwin. Well, of course, I mean, this is the commie coast. They own this entire coastline. They own Gavin Newsom. Everybody knows that. In my humble opinion, allegedly.
Oh, hello. Sent another communist Chinese dragon here with an important public service announcement. Live in your poop and needles.
And closed doors weighing out our fate right now are not Americans, you guys.
England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. First of all, I want to apologise because I feel I betrayed you. This is going to be very hard for me to do, but it needs to be told. I'm not going to tell you my name. You could just call me the Whistleblower, because this needs to be told. I own a small bread and breakfast / hotel on the outskirts between London and Bristol. Exactly where, I won't say. I was commandeered by the office of 10 Downing Street to rehome refugee families. When the first lot of refugees came, there was not one woman, there was not one child. The people that turned up were men from the age of 19 to 30, I would say. I have enough room for about 250 residents. I currently house 150 immigrants. Yes, I did receive quite a large sum of money for doing so. On doing so, the government told me that I had to fire all my staff and they will supply their own, and also that they will supply security guards for the bread and breakfast. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I received a phone call to say that a large parcel will be arriving sometime this evening. Around about 2:30 in the morning, I received another phone call to say that the parcel has arrived, and can I open up the rear servant entrance at the back of the B&B, which I went down and met some army personnel, which kind of surprised me very, very much. The person in charge, I don't know who he was, colonel or whatnot, asked me to show him to a secure room within the B&B, which I did. On doing so, they loaded in roughly between 60 and 70 really big crates. I asked what was in the crates, and I was told that I was not permitted to know. He then handed me a smaller parcel and told me that I will receive a phone call to give me further instructions on what to do and when to open this parcel, which was very strange. So I've had this parcel now for about a week in my office, and I started talking to a friend of mine, and he said, well, do you know what? You don't know what's inside these parcels. It could be anything. It's your property. Whatever's inside your property, you're in the right to stay open, and I should have a look what it was. And I was debating about it for a little while, and I thought, you know what? You are kind of right. If it's in my property, I want to know what it is. So I opened the small parcel up, and inside was a letter with a list of names and numbers written next to the name. On realizing that each name on the letter was one of the refugees, and there was a smaller box inside the parcel. I opened that, and there was a series of keys with numbers on. So I went down to the secure lock where these crates were, and noticed that each crate had a number on it, and each key had a number on it. So I took 2 keys for 2 of the crates, and I opened up the crates. Crate 1. There was a load of AK-47 machine guns. Crate 2 were a number of hand grenades. Now, when I say this, I'm saying this as you could start a new war off with what I was looking at. There was enough ammunition inside one of the crates to easy wipe out my little village. Boom, gone, easy. Now I'm a bit stuck because I don't want these refugees here anymore, but I'm contracted to house them for a period of time. I don't know if I can give the government their money back and tell them to sweet off or not, I don't know. All I do know is in good faith, I cannot allow these men to have these crates. I am going to move them away from my property to a secure garage that I have not too far, because I'm not going to be responsible for allowing our government to kill us, the innocent people.
Name of a restaurant in Chinese, it might not work. Is the army turning this thing into a migrant shelter? Why are you guys here? It's a hotel. Why is the army at this hotel?
We're here at the request of the state of New York.
The state of New York has put the army into hotels? What the hell is that about? This is a public hotel, right? What is the army doing in this hotel? Have you guys taken over this hotel?
What's that?
What is
recording? So you can't record.
What the fuck is the army doing taking over civilian hotels in the middle of New York City? I can't record. So this is what I'm talking about, people. Do you think those guys are there to help you or me? What is going on?
We have hundreds of videos of whether it's Asians or whether it's Middle Easterners or whether it's Africans or Chinese. They're wearing the same boots, the same shirts, the same backpacks, and you know military when you look at it, and they look like officer corps.
Totally. And we've got Vice President Harris claiming in interviews that it's President Trump's fault. But, 2 clicks in, you can see on the White House website that she was in charge of a 3-country staging area with a lot of private stakeholders who want cheap labor, who with the State Department and the UN, who are bringing in these, clearly identically dressed, identical sources for these clothing, brand new clothing, clean clothing. Ordinary citizens don't look like this, right?
Yeah, for folks that don't know, the way we've always, even with covert troops in World War I and World War II, the Germans and the Allies would say, look at their shoes. Even their plain clothes, they're wearing the same boots. That's a unit. Look at this. And it's over and over again. Asians, Middle Easterners, it's always the same boots and backpacks.
Absolutely. And there's also this extraordinary, and this is more like ambiguous, but I've observed immigrants and refugees coming into countries for decades as a journalist, conflict areas around the world, and they never act entitled because they're grateful to be safe. They're grateful to be here. They've come to this country. They want to come to this country, and it's not a sense of impunity. The people coming in, being shipped into Brooklyn, shipped into the
swaggering.
They are literally, where I live in Brooklyn, they've commandeered the sidewalks and they're driving their motorized bikes crazily along the sidewalks, scaring elderly people, disabled people, children, and literally the locals who are all different colors, right? From all different countries, but they are Americans, right? They've been here, they care about this country. They are saying to one another, who are these people? Everything has changed. They are showing no regard or respect for our culture or our laws. And the signal isn't their attitude. That could be cultural or culture shock or whatever. It's the fact that our law and order, our law enforcement has clearly been directed to let it unfold, if not to facilitate it.
Questions at the Pentagon. I don't know at what level this is. It just seems like it's informal discussions. I guess it's understandable they would have those discussions. It also, Scott, is it?
Look, I don't like this because what's Donald Trump supposed to think? He's sitting down there, he's the president-elect, and now he's got to read in the newspaper tonight that the unelected bureaucracy of the federal government is having meetings at some level about how to thwart or countermand the commander-in-chief. I don't care if it's at the Pentagon or at the HUD or Ag Department. It doesn't matter. The unelected bureaucracy of this government answers to the civilian and duly elected leadership that we just did. And what if you were in his shoes and you just won the popular vote with a clear mandate, and now you got to read that these unelected bureaucrats are plotting against you? What would you think? If they have problems, if they have problems, they should not have meetings that then leak to the press. If they have ideas or things, they should call the president's office and say, hey, we'd like to have some discussions for planning purposes. But secret meetings that leak? Terrible way to get off to a start with the new administration.
Well, I agree that that's maybe not the best way to do it. However, Trump has set them up to be in this situation where they think that he's coming after them.
CNN and others are all reporting the Pentagon's been having secret meetings about how they're not going to follow orders of Trump. And now remember, Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, famously called the communist Chinese and said, don't worry, Trump doesn't have the nuke codes. He's not in command, which is a military coup in waiting, and administratively and diplomatically is a coup over the presidency and over the people. And then you've got the clip already played that went viral of Pompeo when Trump got raided last year at Mar-a-Lago going, yeah, he looks pretty criminal. He's a criminal. He'll do some prison. Ha, ha, ha. Trump hadn't seen that. Now he has seen that. You're not getting the cabinet Pompeo. And Bill Gates has scurried back after being caught working with Kamala Harris behind the scenes, giving her at least $50 million, saying he wants to be friends with Donald Trump. Well, nobody wants to be friends with you. Your wife left you. You've got criminal charges against you in the Netherlands and India. No, sir.
Also, we're very focused on the data we're collecting from surveillance efforts. What's being said on social media platforms?
Every person on social media should be verified by their name.
We have launched an effort to be able to counter some of the negativity and reach out to people when we see hate speech being spoken about on online platforms.
They need to verify every single person on their outlet and I want it by name.
We're already in a globalist coup. And then they come out with a DOD directive in the middle of September. And it doesn't trend number one for over 2 weeks. And to his credit, Ron Paul 2 days ago talks about it. He's got so much credibility, people actually go, we better go to the DOD website and look at it. So the point is, we're moving too slow, people. My films are free. Police State 1, Police State 2, Police State 3, Police State 4, Police State 5. And everything in this DOD document is in other documents word for word. The difference is they're now making it public because what do you do before you roll out a long planned operation? You get ahead of it and tailor it so that people are prepared for it. And that means they're getting ready for civil unrest, martial law, because they're getting ready to create the triggers.
Several weeks before the election was even over, they had already moved on to Plan B, and they had sent out this directive to mobilize the United States military against the United States citizens, even authorizing the use of lethal force. So this isn't crowd control. This is, you can shoot to kill your own people. This is the Pentagon declaring war on its own country.
Questions at the Pentagon. I don't know at what level this is. It just seems like it's informal discussions. I guess it's understandable they would have those discussions. It also, Scott, is it?
Look, I don't like this, because what's Donald Trump supposed to think? You know, he's sitting down there, he's the president-elect, and now he's got to read the newspaper tonight that the unelected bureaucracy of the federal government is having meetings at some level about how to thwart or countermand the commander-in-chief. I don't care if it's at the Pentagon or at the HUD or Ag Department. It doesn't matter. The unelected bureaucracy of this government answers to the civilian and duly elected leadership that we just did. And what if you were in his shoes and you just won the popular vote with a clear mandate, and now you got to read that these unelected bureaucrats are plotting against you? What would you think? If they have problems, let me finish. If they have problems, they should not have meetings that then leak to the press. If they have ideas or things, they should call the president's office and say, hey, we'd like to have some discussions for planning purposes. But secret meetings that leak, terrible way to get off to a start with the new administration.
Well, I agree that that's maybe not the best way to do it. However, Trump has set them up to be in this situation where they think that he's coming after them.
So if you're wondering why after the election, the entire machine turned into, oh, they're all so sweet and kind, and, well, it was a free and fair election, so everything's fine. It's just fine. Now they're all sweetie-peaty after all these years of calling us garbage and deplorables and getting us fired from our jobs, debanking us, rounding us up, all the lawfare and the indictments and the impeachments and the false Russian collusions and everything they have put us through. All of a sudden, Plan B kicks in and they're sweetie-peaty. They're like, oh, that's fine that Trump won. It's our own fault. We need to, rethink. Yeah, you're going to rethink things now. Suddenly, within one day, you had a turnaround from wanting to put us in re-education camps that we have played the clips at length over and over and over. Biden standing behind his pulpit, dividing the nation, trying to turn our neighbors and families against us, calling us domestic terrorists, actually saying, don't you dare not call them domestic terrorists, calling us racists, calling us fascists, calling us Hitler, calling us deplorables, calling us garbage. Like, after all of that, for the last 8 years of our lives, you have made our lives a living hell. And now, bam, in 24 hours, you're sweetie-peaty. It's an eerie silence. Oh, everything's okay. Well, we're the good guys, really. See how we know how to respect a free and fair election while you guys protested because their narrative that they're broadcasting, this DOD directive came out right now while Biden and Harris are in office. Trump did not send out this DOD directive, right? This is the communist regime who sent this out. And yet, simultaneously, through their media propagandists, they are broadcasting that, oh, Trump's going to use the military to kill you guys. He's going to round up black people and kill them. He's going to do all this. It's like, Trump's not even in office. What are you talking about? Hopefully these messages will get out to people and they will realize this is not us. We don't want this. We want peace. But make no mistake, this is war, and they have prepared for every contingency. If the military, the United States military, keeps its oath and obeys the Constitution and obeys posse comitatus and does not turn on its own people, on the American citizens, they have armies in place.
That's right.
They have brought in over 20 million foreign invaders and placed them around our country. They have troops right here on the screen all the way back to the Obama era. This is government plates. These are government plates who were bringing in these illegal immigrants.
Look at that.
And they had been completely supplied with fake documents. They had been supplied with uniforms. They had U.S. military uniforms with all the correct insignias. They had sea bags here with all of their military issue gear. These were illegal immigrants that were accidentally arrested. This is why they hate ICE and stuff, why they're trying to overthrow, right? Defund the police, because they have their new police. And they don't want their military overthrow of the United States of America thwarted. And right here, this was one of those accidental arrests where they found 13 illegal immigrants in a government vehicle supplied with fake uniforms and fake IDs ready to come in. So if this thing does pop off, and again, I'm not saying that it will, that was not the message I got from God. The message I got from God was they are meeting behind closed doors right now, debating whether they have to launch early. But what I was getting at with this clip is that even if our own military and police officers refuse to serve the Marxist regime, if they command them to come after American citizens the way the UK police officers and judges have obeyed the communists and they have begun arresting their own citizens, if our patriots in the military and police forces refuse to do that, right here on the screen, all the way back during the Obama administration, they started falsifying documents and issuing gear to people who will be pretending to be U.S. military. So a lot of people are going to be discombobulated if this thing does kick off and they think that the U.S. military is attacking their town or arresting them, when it could actually be these illegal migrants, these foreign invading troops whom they have armed and supplied with uniforms to deceive Americans. There will be a lot of Americans who will willingly get on those relocation evacuation buses, not knowing that they are being taken off to the camps.
And that's something.
But when we are talking about what the Marxist infiltrators in our government have done to betray our country and to arm and provide fake IDs and all of this type of thing to our enemies, this is small potatoes compared to, of course, Afghanistan. That, again, was written off as incompetence when obviously a kindergartner can tell that this was treason. They armed our enemies with some of the top of the line military equipment. And there is some equipment that a lot of people haven't heard about, like the biometric equipment, intelligence agency level equipment to make false identifications. And obviously all of this technology wasn't just to sit in the deserts with the Taliban. It's already shown up in conflicts involving India, China, the cartels in Mexico.
They didn't just leave behind $80 billion in weapons. They left behind the biometric capability that the NSA uses. They left behind the people trained in using those systems. They left behind access to those systems. So not only do you have tens of thousands of Afghans being trained inside these religious schools at the mosques, who are being trained in bomb making and small arms and all the rest of it, they are now able to issue them passports with altered biometrics. So they cannot be, they do not show up in the terrorist database.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they gave them cloaking power.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And
so Afghan terrorists given NSA cloaking. And that's spy level stuff.
The State Department did it. The intelligence agencies did it. I mean, there is.
But that alone is bombshell.
Yep.
Cloaking, new identity technology given by Biden to Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
Yes, and this doesn't just come from, U.S. intelligence sources. This also comes from Afghan intelligence sources. This is what they've literally, you can be a known Afghan terrorist, have altered your biometrics. You can either cross the southern border or you can fly in to an American airport, or by the way, to a European airport. Afghanistan has become the terrorist training center for the entire world. So, Eamon, while we're all focused on this humanitarian crisis that has been engineered by our own leaders, right, and we're being subjected to this information campaign, what is the reality that we're missing in terms of, I know you had a piece out that said there were 2 days in May where more Chinese people came across the southern border than in the whole of 2021, in the entire year. We've talked extensively about the Venezuelan cartels, particularly Tren de Aragua, which is a cartel that was created by Chavez in Venezuela inside the prison system. So they've emptied those prisons now, which means not just random criminals. This is an organized criminal cartel that has come into the United States that is working with the Mexican cartels and backed by the Chinese. Can you tell us about the reality of that and the significance of it?
Yes, you mentioned before that we've never really had policies or operations against the Mexican cartels. The Mexican cartels went from just criminal organizations to now a parallel government. They are foreign terrorist organizations and should be designated as such. But because we've done nothing to them or against them, we've never countered them. They completely operationally control both sides of our border. They control in Mexico, but they also control our side. Now, many people say that that's not the case because they don't see the hyperviolence that you do there. But because they're insurgency, they actually have a foreign strategic policy on how to operate inside the United States and control the areas U.S. territory through other means. And that's what they're doing. And they've gone on for over a decade now in controlling this. So really, the Mexican cartels have built a Silk Road, not just at our border, but to every single one of our communities. And because the Mexican cartels have done so, every single one of our adversaries, both state and non-state, realize that in order to get access to our communities, to disrupt our communities, to destabilize it, to destroy it, and reap massive financial gain at the same time, like what the CCP is doing by weaponizing Mexican cartels through their drug warfare against us. They realized in order to do that, they must work with the Mexican cartels who have already built that infrastructure into every single one of our communities. If you look at the data, our encounters with Venezuelans roughly in 2017 was roughly about 2,600. Now, fast forward to 2023, our encounters with Venezuelans was 334,000. And that is all due to Biden's open borders policies.
But Eamon, what's interesting here is that Tren de Aragua, as a Venezuelan cartel, is not in conflict with the Mexican cartels. I mean, how did that happen?
In order to be successful, they must make alliances. And Tren de Aragua, as you said before, is backed by the Maduro regime. That Maduro regime, Venezuela, has its own threat network. That threat network includes Iran, Russia, and China. When the Mexican cartels are also working with the CCP in terms of fentanyl precursors, in terms of money laundering operations, in terms of bulk cash flowing, you name it.
Okay, well, I could go on forever, but you guys know all about it. I'm sure you get it. Hopefully I delivered this message sufficiently with the seriousness and the urgency that the Lord delivered it to me. This is not a game, folks. And our enemies who are plotting against us are not incompetent clowns like Kamala or faux Biden. They are highly organized and they mean business. We are surrounded. Now is not the time to lay down the sword and pick up the party cup.
All right, brother. There you go.
Wow.
So everybody got to hear what we heard that day. And I just sat there and listened to it. I'm going, this is some stuff right here that everybody needs to hear. Because, we hear a lot of people. And, what I like about Janice is that, she is ex-military. And the Lord uses her, in Revelation, what God has shown her about dreams. I think the main thing that I take away from this here was that she said several years about this time, especially around the holidays, that she would get a warning. God would tell you need to be very careful. Everybody does. And she said, for the last couple of years, I didn't do that. And she said, but the Lord's telling her now is to let people know you need to be very careful around this season in that we're in, that they are meeting behind the closed door. So someone asked me, so what should you be praying about? Well, that the meetings behind closed doors, a spirit of confusion They would not know what to do. Whatever decisions they would make would be the wrong decisions. It wouldn't come to pass. Pray that God's will be done on earth as it's done in heaven. But there is a spirit that wants to come in and take over. I mean, it's whether it's the one world religion, one world, government that's on the scene, because it's coming, and there are things that's going to set up to do it. But there are a lot of things that that I believe that can be thwarted by prayers and understanding what the enemy wants to do, and that you can intervene. Your prayers are predestined for the foundation of the world, so that you pray what you need to pray, that God's will be done. And one of the other things is that it's almost, I almost do it like this here. If at the church where I pastor at, if I know I have a group of people in the church who want to take the church away from me, who has plans to get rid of me, and I find out about it, or I know what, then there's things I can do. But if I am unaware of it, then I don't know what to do.
Yes, that's right.
You understand what I mean? You don't know what to do. But once you're made aware, I want to just tell somebody about that, what we're talking about. So we were building a new church. I gotta make a request here. What would happen is we were building a new church, and we had a lot of finances. I mean, there was one thing that came up was like $30,000 extra dollars, and that was the cushion money we had to get in with, and we had to spend it for something. But we were continuing. I had a treasurer, that their plans were, let me build the church, let me get it up, let us do what we need to do. They couldn't get it up. We were getting it up. God was using it. And then right when we got into the church, right before we get in the church, they were going to take a vote. They're going to get me out and bring in a pastor that they wanted. Just that's just to say what they were going to do. Well, middle of the night, like I am here now, middle of the night, and I'm going to say 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, God woke me up. He says, go to church, go into the treasurer's office, open a checkbook up. I went in there to the treasurer's office because I don't write the checks. I opened it up, and we had like $295 in the bank. And what he was going to do was let me write the monies down to nothing and then say, now what are we going to do? You understand what I'm saying? Instead of him in the meetings telling me where we're at, he was going to let it right down the nut. Now what are we going to do? See what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
But God preempted me, showed me what was going on supernaturally. And then what I'm going to tell you what I did is because I know how to write computer programs. I use Excel, know how to write programs in Excel, and graphing and everything. I say, sir, this is all you need to do every week. People's name, put the money in, what come in, what you write out, let me write it out. It tallies it up itself. It puts it on a graph and it sends it to me. I know exactly what's going on. You understand what I mean? I knew what to do because I was made aware, not by people, but by the Holy Spirit. And he showed me that behind the scenes, people will do things to make you fail.
That's right.
And that's exactly what's happening in our country right now. People are doing things behind the scenes to make our country fail, whether people believe it or not. They want governments to fail, and they don't want us to be successful, and they don't want America first agenda. It's not America first agenda. It wants to be America last or a third world nation like everybody else. And all I can tell y'all this here, I spent some time in Belize on a missions trip. I took a bath in the Alligator River. That's where I got up and shaved in the morning time. We went down to Mexico, just across the border in Mexico, about 15 miles in Texas. And it's the same way. They cook off a little hearth stove, off a rock. You understand what I'm getting at? And what people like Barack Obama and the Democrat Party and these people like this here that are in that thinking, third world thinking, they think it's unfair for you to have a stove and them not. You see what I'm getting at? Or for you to have a car and them have to walk. It's unfair. So that what they want to do is make it everybody equal. That's communism or some type of whatever. But it's going to be the people at the bottoms are all going to be the working people, and the people who are rich, like the lady said here, says, well, why would they want us to be a third world nation? Because the rich people are going to be the ones that are going to be in control. They're not going to be affected by this. That makes sense what we're saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there are things. What you got, Greg?
Hey, Pastor Henry, I was looking at some of the comments.
I hate to look at them, brother. They say we're not going to listen no more.
And a person wrote they liked a certain host. And all I got to tell you is be very careful who you like, who has a news show, because I'm only going to tell you this. Certain people who appear to be good are playing both sides.
Yeah, makes good sense to me.
Yep, and Pastor Henry, people will say, well, how do you know? Just listen to all the information they leak out and they share with the American public and even the world. You can tell by a couple of things. They never go to jail and they're still alive. If they're still alive, sharing all this information, just say this, things to make you go,
There are people that I believe that are paid on social media. I'm not talking about bots. I'm talking about people who are paid to, and they are given disinformation.
That's right.
That they are given disinformation. And by and large, people suck it up and believe it.
That's right.
And they just don't realize, they got mind control on their head. That's a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That demon of mind control. You get that demon of mind control off your head, you're going to start seeing things a whole lot different than the way things are. And it takes deliverance to be able to see what's going on. It takes deliverance to be able to listen here. If I'm going to tell you how important deliverance is. Someone said this kind of stuff shouldn't even be on because it has nothing to do with deliverance. I'm going to tell you this here. If you don't understand deliverance and get this off your head, it's going to be very easily that you're going to be sucked up into the wrong side, or it's going to be very easy for you to take the mark of the beast, and you're going to think that it's part of the system. Well, the whole world's went to this now. This is what we got to. It's going to be the mind control is going to tell you. The doctors are telling you that this is what you need if you're going to survive this pandemic coming. The pastors are telling you don't take it, but you went ahead and took it anyway, and it was mind control that caused you to take that thing there. And now, after 3 or 4 years, you're finding out you can finally go, oh well, we lied. Yeah, we lied. We told you a lie, and when people are dying because of it. People are going to go into a tribulation because of the mark of the beast, and they're going to tell you that it's okay. Go ahead.
Pastor Henry, I don't know if I know you believe this. I don't even know if I should say it, but I'm going to say it. Someone mentioned, what demons should they cast out in the comments? I believe that.
Oh, go ahead.
But I also believe if people realized if you pulled and stripped some of the skin off of these people who have high positions, it would shock you who's behind the skin. And Pastor Henry, and I only know for a fact because I had a experience, some of the people that look human are not.
Yeah.
Hey, Pastor Henry, at first I couldn't believe it until something happened to me. Do you believe it's possible that certain people could really be reptilians that look human?
Sure. Yeah, I do. I do believe in the reptilians. Oh, well, first of all, let's just say, let me just say what I have seen. Okay. We have seen people that we've taken through deliverance, that that when we call the spirit up, we broke the curse of the old woman on a 40, 45-year-old woman. Broke that curse that was put on there by her husband, and say, break the curse, call the spirit out. That's called the old woman come out. And the lady in front of me goes from like 40, 45 years old. She goes to where she's 85 years old. In her face, her hair, wrinkles, wrinkles, her whole face turned 85.
That's right.
And as she breathed that thing out, came out of her, she goes right back to 40, 45 years old. Now, I've seen that 3 times. Okay.
There you go.
So that's just a demon, okay, with a curse tied to it. Then I do believe that there are, the Bible talks about beware of whom you entertain, because some have entertained angels unawares. And that's just not talking about good angels. I believe that there are bad angels, and we're talking about fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
That many people have entertained fallen angels, and they don't even realize it. I believe that there are even people in the government that are fallen angels.
They are.
That are in positions, high positions within the government.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot to do with the adrenochrome. It has a lot to do with the blood sacrifice to children, and all those kind of things. And I don't know how far we're going to get on this video here, brother, when they take this one down, but that's just what I believe. And then, of course, we have dealt with, when I say this here, I have dealt with fallen angel before in my own church. So it's not just me just saying this.
That's right.
And then the other part is, we have seen, you're talking about reptilians, we've seen people's eyes go like a snake eyes, go just like that. In their eyes, to go round like normal, then go to snake eyes, reptilian eyes. And then even as we call them out, people start to get scales on them, or even in their back, their bones in their back start to look like they have scales on their back.
Look at that.
As they're doing this. So these are demons. Now, I do believe that there are shapeshifters. All of these kind of things are things that we are going to face.
That's right.
And when I tell you that the church is not ready for what's coming, I'm telling you, most of the people sitting here listening to me, they're not ready. And they will say, this man's too far out. He doesn't understand this. And I'm going, y'all listen to what I'm telling you, is that this is demonic, and this is the time frame that we're in, and there is a demonic agenda against us. And that demonic agenda is make us to submit to Satan and not be Jesus Christ. And the part of the demonic agenda that's in America is through abortion, is through transgender, homosexuals, anything that has to break down the family values that God would put up. Anything that would try to tear that down, that's a demonic agenda.
Yes.
That has. And this is where the country wants to come in. Foreign countries want to come in with, they don't even realize that they are being used by the devil. But the plans over these different people coming in, when I say this here, there are people who are governors who want to stay governors. There are governors who want to stay governors. I think, what is it, 6 years a governor can be voted in? Is it 6 years? I'm not sure how long it is.
Well, I'm not sure. It's not. I'm not sure, Pastor Henry.
They can't stay a governor forever. I know that. I think it's 6 years and they have to go out. But there's people who want to stay in power forever. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to give that power up. To that's why there should be some type of term limits on everything. But beyond that, so the people who want to stay in power forever over the states. And then if you get a demon or you can get a fallen angel who can be in those positions and all, influencing people, then you can control a whole state. And then, of course, if you understand what happened in the book of Daniel, that there were fallen angels that were withstanding the information that Daniel needed and had to call on Michael to come and help. And then the angel was able to come in to release the information that he needed. So all of this is spiritual. This is demonic. There are things that we can pray for and understand, praying for Donald Trump, praying for the next administration coming in, because whether or not you like him or not, he's going to send some of these wicked people home and get them out of our country, and going to expose a lot of this here. And I'm going to tell you who you need to be praying for. You need to be praying for Tom Homan. Tom Homan is the border czar that's going to be taking over just as soon as Trump goes in. And if he says things like this here, they ask him, they said, are you going to separate families when you start to deport people? He says, no, we're not going to separate families. If there are people here who are illegal, the whole family can leave and go back home. I'm not going to separate nobody. But if they're illegal, they're going home. They're getting out of here. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things like that that's happening. And whether or not we think that this is a righteous movement or not, this is what you have to understand. Did God put this man in this place to help the church at this time so we can do our mission and stop what's coming? See what I'm getting at? Is he a doorstop? Is it a doorstop to be able to give us time to do what we need to do? So, the Bible talks about us praying that we can live a peaceable life among our government and government leaders, that we can live a peaceable life. That's what we should be praying. You know what I mean? And then also, the book of Proverbs tells us that when the righteous are in control, the people rejoice. When the wicked are in control, the people mourn.
That's right.
That's what the Bible says. So I look at this. All I do is look at. Well, I don't know how you look at it. I can't convince people. It takes getting demons out of people to convince them. You can't convince them. A man that is unconvinced against his will, he's still unconvinced. Some people just they said, no, this is not true. It's like someone said on here, well, this is bull. Yeah, probably to you it is. And you can't see anything past that. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I go back, brother. I go back and I tell people, I go back to the mid 70s. And, I voted for Jimmy Carter. I was in my 20s. I voted for Jimmy Carter. I didn't know no better. He was a Democrat. He was a Christian, they said. But he supported abortion. Our government, look here, the people were building houses. I think the percentage rate of building a house loan went up to over 14%. Had to be higher than that. People were doing their best to get out of the houses because they couldn't afford a house. Just a building loan to get on these things here. It was just like we had hostages across America. Iran was holding our hostages. Was it 400 days? I can't remember how many days it was.
Yeah, I remember.
Hostages everywhere. They laughed at America, but when Ronald Reagan came on the scene, the day that he came on the scene, they turned our hostages loose, and they came and go, that man was going to do something. That's the same thing with Trump. All these people that are now getting sugar in their mouth about what has happened the last 4 or 8 years, they get sugar in the mouth because they realize this man get ready to do something and going to bring some type of justice somewhere. I'm not sure, I'm not sure how it's going to be. All I say is the church is that we don't stop doing what we're called to do. We train, we teach, we preach the gospel. We keep doing this here, and we say, well, thank God, Lord, that you give us a little bit more time that we can do what we need to do. Because I want you to know that when these people come and these armies from within come, and they have a setup and a divine, they come in for the Christians first.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to shut you down first. Your free speech. If you get on here doing what we're doing now, they're going to shut this down first.
That's why, Pastor, I love the scripture, Matthew 6:33. During these times, my desire is to draw so close to God, nothing else really matters.
Amen. Kingdom business. That's what I'm talking about. Got to put God first. What's someone say? Shaking my head? I don't know what that means. Is that smart shaking my head? Is that what that means? Smartly?
I'm not sure.
Does that mean smartly shaking my head? And it's like these people don't know what they're talking about. Then you got to tell us what you're talking about. It's like, let's see, it's almost like, what do they call that, brother? What do they call that? Stockholm Syndrome?
I heard of it. I'm not sure of the meaning.
The Stockholm Syndrome is that when you are captured, just say they're taking over a bank. Now listen to what I'm telling you. If they take over a bank, someone comes in, and the people who are held hostage,
Mm-hmm.
once they start to get to know the people who are holding them hostage,
That's right.
they start to
form a bond.
They start to feel sorry for them, and they start entering, and they start entering into them and say, no, y'all don't really understand that these are not bad people. You know what I mean? And they become, it's called the Stockholm Syndrome. This is the same thing that's happened to the people in the church, that the Democrat Party and the people have captured the church. And the people in the church are operating in the Stockholm Syndrome, saying, oh, no. They're all right. They're good people. You just don't really understand why that. Because, no, wait a minute. No, you don't understand. That's bad. And you can't see it because you're blinded by the Stockholm Syndrome. That makes sense? Well, maybe we need to call that out of people. What do you think?
Boy, we're in some very interesting times, Pastor Henry.
Yeah, it's like this here. Here's Shirley. Here's what we're talking about. The party, the Democrat Party, supported it, and he was part of it because he was over it. That's what I'm talking about, and that's fact. So anyway, that's what we're talking about, and I couldn't see it either because I just didn't know. He's a Christian. He's a good man. He would never support that. Well, they did, and they have been done that for years. So anyway, so what else we got, bro? Anything else?
So much to take in now.
It's quiet time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this here. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, like and share. Please like and share this. Leave a comment. That'll get us past the so that to build the audience. The other part is, if you're there, and because they're going to shut this here down, go over to Rumble. Somebody asked me, we're on Rumble. Yes. Deliverance with Pastor Henry's on Rumble. Same thing. Go over there. That's a free platform, free speech. You don't have to worry about getting knocked off or anything about what you say, because of course, the Facebook and the YouTube, they just kind of, what they're doing with Facebook. Yeah. Let me say this here about Facebook. And I can't remember this here. Maybe Montel can help me out here on this here. People who know this here, is that back in the early 70s, when did Facebook come about?
God, I'm not sure.
So somewhere in the 70s, 80s, when Facebook started to come in about, MySpace, Facebook started to come about. But there was a program that the CIA was doing, collecting information on every person in America. And it was such a daunting task to be able to gather all this information. They said, okay, we're going to shut this down, this program. And it's I just can't remember the program. We're going to shut this program down, and we're going to create a program where people will give up their personal information and all their friends and all the connections and all the links to each other. And the CIA came up with the Facebook. And Facebook is what is used to collect all this information freely. And how is that this is your friend, you might know them here, send them a friend request and all of this stuff here. And anyway, it might be on there. Does everybody got this on here? Anybody is anybody up on this thing here to know what that was called?
Shirley Adams just wrote, it was created in February 2004.
Okay, and then it was Facebook was a CIA program. That's how you have to say it. Yeah, right. But it was it had a real name to it. I can't remember what the move was. And if you write that down in here, of course, they're going to attack Pastor Henry. Y'all do realize that when they come, Pastor Henry's on that list anyway. You know that, right? He's on that list. So just got to tell y'all what's going on so that you're not yeah. All right. Anything else, brother?
No, all I can really say is just trust Jesus. And I have something to say, Pastor Henry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't surrender your true identity.
Yeah, you got that right. Look at that. Look what this one Kimberly said. Holy Father, have mercy on us. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. We're going to be all right, everybody.
Yep, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. It's going to be all right, everybody. Don't worry about it, man. It's going to be all right. The thing is, you know what's going on. Or let's sit here. This is how you do this here. This is how I take in information. Okay, we'll see.
That's right.
That's how we'll do it. We'll see.
Yep.
What happens. We will see what happens. But the thing is, once it started happening and everything, then you'll be aware. I remember what they said, and I think I know what the outcome is, and I don't want to fall into anything like that.
That's right.
So keep doing what you're called to do. Teach, preach, pray. Pray against the wiles of the devil. You're not to be unaware of the wiles of the devil. He walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So anyway, be safe out there. God bless everybody on the other side of that screen. I'm your host, Henry Schaefer. Greg, you got it?
Yeah. Yeah. We won't forget you, Jesus.
That's exactly right. But I'm going all the way.
I'm not a quitter. I can't quit. It's not in me.
No, we ain't going all the way. I know you're not a quitter. Hey, Greg Norman, that man right there, 1987, Mr. Rhode Island, right there. Isn't that right? Is that the year?
1980.
1980, Mr. Rhode Island, right there. That man's not a quitter. If you're going to win something like that, he went all the way. He got the top of the crown.
Oh, cut it.
You're a good man. You're a good man.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on tonight, Pastor Henry.
I'm glad you just hung in there with me, man.
Yeah. Anytime.
Hey, listen.
Stand by.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, when are you going to tell the dreams? This was the lady's dream right here. Maybe we can come back and we'll do a short one sometime.
Yes.
About what the Lord has showed us about China, bombs, and maybe I can get together that thing with what's that guy's name? The one that had on top of the Empire State Building, A.A. Allen. A.A. Allen had a vision of the end time of what was going to happen.
I think the one you shared with me, what God gave you, is very interesting, Pastor Henry.
Yeah, I think, and I recorded that thing too. I found the recording on that. I was sleepy in bed, roll over on my phone, and I said, I'm just on, and I started recording what I had because I would have forgotten a lot of it. Hit it right there. All right, brother, we out of here.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. God bless everybody on the other side of that screen.